Once upon a time, a long time ago, and I mean 1936, there was a committee. It was called the Ullswater Committee, and it was chaired by Lord Selsdon, who had been Postmaster General, lost his office and was looking for something to do. This committee was set up to investigate the abnormally high price of domestic radios. They suddenly realised that you couldn't get anything decent that worked under about 10 or 12 guineas. And this was rather a lot, considering Americans were popping little midget sets into this country for £3.19 and 16. £3.19 and sixpence, and it actually worked. So, mind you, the government had overlooked the fact that we had a valve holder tax, we had the British Valve Association, and we had something equivalent to Bremer as well, all to make sure the price of a domestic radio was kept at a sensible level. Well, the committee had a few expensive lunches and did all the things that committees usually do, a lot of waffle and so on, and put out a challenge to the radio industry to do something about it. Two people took notice of it seriously, Philips's and Philco. And Philips thought, well, let's see how we can cut the costs of a radio, in spite of all these little taxes. Surely, as Philips is also mullard valves as well, it shouldn't be too difficult. And so they bought out, in 1936, the V5A. On the continent, they called it the Theatrette, and it was called that here as well. I think it's rather a pleasing appearance. It was 3 waveband, long, medium and short. Some even had a tone control on one side. The extraordinary thing about it was, it didn't have a chassis. No chassis at all, no steelwork hardly. And the minimum number of components of it would actually work and give you results. And what did they do? And a nice bakelite case, a wooden bottom, a celluloid dial, conventional drive cord that Philips loves so much, and they made the whole setup without a chassis but on a jig. So the whole lot was about 4 or 5 feet long on a long bench, all tied together with bits of string and bits of cotton, and then all the pots were glued in with tar or pitch or glue into slots in the bakelite, all the way around the set. Of course, being Philips, they put the drive cord in first. They had to, it's the only way you'd ever get it in. And they just wound the whole thing round and ended up with a power supply. And they had a nice, slim, neat set, using the standard lineup of a frequency changer, IF valve, detector, amplifier, LF valve and rectifier, mains transformer, fast moving condensers, and one of Philips's famous, nice, solid, high flux speakers. They did away with the cans on the IF transformers. They didn't think that was necessary. They placed them in such a position that the speaker frame acted as a shield to stop any interaction. And provided the earth wire didn't fall off a loudspeaker, results were very stable. Coil pack was made up in one unit and operated from that side. And it actually worked. Not only that, it sounded good. A very innovative, clever bit of engineering. And when they did their costing, they found that their production cost was something like £2.10 shillings. £2.50 in today's money, just to make a radio to sell for 6 guineas. They laughed all the way to the bank. They were delighted, and they sold all they could make. They made an awful lot of them. Mind you, a lot of radio engineers have reservations about them. They do find that the drive cord is a little bit naughty to change, unless you do exactly the same as Philips did. Let's take everything out and do the drive cord and then put it all back again. That can take you about a couple of hours if you're not careful. But it's worth it, because I feel it's a little bit of history and a very fine wireless set.